Hey, Matt Weaver here from Tinker and Tide and Siempre Surf. In this video, I'm going to show you the method I use to grind down fin boxes. So when you install a fin box, it's got a lot of stuff hanging down below the level of the board, and you got to get that ground flat. And there's a couple of tricks to making that really easy and relatively pain-free. So I'm going to show you those.
Okay, so here we have a board where the fin box has been installed. In this case, we've used the glass patch method. So there's a patch of glass that is 3 inches wide, 3.5 inches wide, and about 12 inches long. That is then pressed down under the box with resin to fill up the space and glue the box in place. So a couple things here. The glass is sticking up and needs to be ground down. That actually is pretty straightforward, but the fin box itself is also a little higher than the board, and that needs to be ground down. So to do that, we're going to use this grinder here with the 50 grit, actually 60 grit grinding disc on it. The grinding disc I'm showing you as an example here is a 50 grit and a backing pad and a nut. This you want a 50 or 60 grit pad. You could go maybe a little rougher, but if you get too rough, like 36 or lower, that can scratch the board, and those scratches are really hard to get out. So we want the rougher grits though, because those will take off chunks of that plastic and not remelt it and create a yucky mess. So rough enough that we're taking off plastic and keeping the fin box itself cool and not regrinding that plastic, but fine enough that we're not going to put deep scratches in the board. Now, if this is your first time or you're not feeling comfortable doing this, you can put masking tape around the box, and I'm putting 2 layers here. And what that'll do is as I get close to the end, I'll start to hit that masking tape instead of actually hitting the board, and less likely I'm going to put some scratches somewhere where I don't want them. So the key here is to come in kind of nice and flat with that grinder. I have it tipped up at a slight angle, but we're doing nice, even, long passes with medium pressure. I've sped that up here just to get through this a little bit quicker. But again, longer passes, relatively flat on the angle, and light to medium pressure so that we're not regrinding that plastic and melting it, but we're actually clearing it out of the way. And we just keep doing that in little bits at a time with some patience until we're almost all the way down. You can kind of see I'm starting to hit that masking tape. There's a reason I put 2 layers. With 2 layers, I can nick into that first layer, the top layer, and know that I'm getting close to being done there. And that gives me an indicator without actually getting into the board. So I'm going to take this down to where I'm almost all the way flat, but not quite flat with the board. And then once I'm there, I'm going to pull that tape. And at that point, really, we're done with this part of the fin box job. We'll put away this grinder. We'll get out another one with a power pad on it and 80 grit paper, and we'll use that to blend the box into the surrounding area. So again, just touching up a couple areas here. It's good to go nice and slow, and take your time. I apologize for the framing on this. I thought I had the GoPro framed better, but apparently not quite. So now we're going to pull that tape. And also the other reason for using 2 layers is if you nick into that first layer, if it's only 1 layer, the adhesive can be kind of hard to get off the board, and if you got 2 layers there, the adhesive comes off of that bottom layer. So here's what that looks like. You can still see there's a little bit of resin, and it's not quite finished all the way around, so there's still a little bit of excess there, but that's okay because now we'll come in with the power pad as part of the sanding job and blend that area in. And I'll show that here in a second, where using a power pad, usually soft pad, and again 80 grit sandpaper for this first part, and going to work that and blend that in. One of the things with the power pad is you do want to keep the pad relatively flat. Usually that upper third to almost a half of the pad is in contact with the board. It is slightly elevated so that it can throw the sanding dust free and not regrind the dust underneath of it. But you do have that half to third of it pretty flat on the board. And so after sanding, blending that in, you can see now all that excess resin and those little bits are gone, and that's looking pretty good. So that'll get either sanded out further and then finished with a sealer, or if it's going to be a gloss and polish, we'll tape it and polish it.